haftora of vayishlach, according to our custom, is the haftora of Chazon Ovadia. Ovadia is one of the 12 prophets in Treyosor. We have only one chapter in his entire book of prophecy, and this is the chapter. Well, we have there are a number of haftorahs through the year that have different customs as to which haftorah is read. We say the haftorah is the haftorah Svardim and Ashkenazim, but it goes back further than that. Sometimes it was a minig in Bavel and a minig in Eretz Yisrael as to which haftorah to read. And the poskim, the Rambam, the Levush, and others have decided for us which haftorah to read, and that's what we follow. But this is one of the examples. Ashkenazim and Sephardim, there also are other minhagim. The Italian Jews had a minig. There are different minhagim. So this is the haftorah of vayishlach, Chazon Ovadia. Now the Novi Ovadia lived at the time of Eliyahu Hanavi. And in fact, he was a disciple of Eliyahu. And he was a servant of King Achav, the great King Achav, who was an idolater, who was married to Izebel, and who was a very, very evil person. He's one of the evil people as recorded in Tanakh. Nevertheless, Ovadia, at great personal risk, countermanded the king's order. The king's order was to destroy all of the prophets, to see to it that the word of God was not heard throughout Israel. And Ovadia stood against him, and the Tanakh tells us that he kept on his own personal bill 100 prophets alive. He hid them in caves, 50 in one cave and 50 in another cave, and supplied them with food and with the sustenance of life until the situation, till the martial law, so to speak, abated, and they were able to come out again. We discussed a little regarding the Novi Ovadia in the haftorah of Vayera, where we see his widow appealing to Elisha to save her 2 children from the hands of the mortgage holder, because of the fact that when Ovadia died, he left them penniless and she had to borrow money and the children were the collateral. And therefore she came to Elisha, to the disciple of Eliyahu, to save her family, because of the fact that she felt that the prophet owed it to them, so to speak. Ovadia himself, according to the Talmud, is descended from converts, descended in fact from Edom, from Esau, and that therefore he is the one that is used here to prophesy regarding the future of Esau, the future of Edom. And he is the one who can afford to say all of these strong critical words regarding Edom, because being himself from the seed of Edom, he is aware of it, and the Lord therefore put those words of prophecy into his mouth, and through him it descends to us. Now Edom, the reason this is the haftorah of vayishlach is because vayishlach tells us of the last meeting of Yaakov and Esav in their lifetime, and of the fact that Esav continued his journey to Edom and his journey into history, and Yaakov goes his way eventually to go to Egypt and to found the Jewish people. Edom, Esav originally moved south into the Negev, occupying the area around Eilat today. Eilat, Aqaba, Etzion Gover, part of the Sinai, and the Edomim remained there at the time of the Second Temple. We find them there, where many of the Edomim were converted by the Hashmonaim, forcibly converted by the Hashmonaim to Judaism. So there's a lot of Edom within the Jewish people. However, the Medrash tells us that Esav contested the burial of Yaakov Avinu in the Maras HaMachpelah. Esav claimed to the end that he was cheated out of his birthright, and that therefore he was entitled to the grave, and that when Yosef and his brothers brought their father's body to the Maras HaMachpelah for burial, Esav's children, together with Esav, contested the burial. And there are different midrashim as to what happened. One midrash is that Esav himself was slain. He was beheaded. But that there was a war, there was a war. The Chumash does not record it for us, but that all the midrashim agree, and Josephus tells us the story, that there was a war, and that Yosef and his brothers, together with their allies, had to fight a war against Esav and his allies over the right to be buried in the Maras HaMachpelah. So according to one medrash, Esav was killed, and his head rolled into the Maras HaMachpelah and is buried next to his father, next to Yitzchak, Esav's head. And when you go today to the Maras HaMachpelah, the Arabs show you, and who knows if any of those graves are graves, but and who knows if there's difference of opinion whether or not that's even the Maras HaMachpelah, but you can be certain it's not in Muncie. Whether that's exactly it could be off a few hundred yards, but you're pretty close. But the Arabs say that that's the burial place of Joseph. But our tradition is that that little burial place is the burial place of Esav. And that fulfills the prophecy that Rebekah, our mother, said that I will lose both of them on the same day. They'll both be buried on the same day. Because when a righteous person says something, so then it doesn't go for naught. And another medrash is that Esav's grandson was captured by Yosef, together with a great number of descendants of Esav, and they were taken back down into Egypt to be slaves by Yosef. And eventually they were released. Josephus tells us a story. They were released and they traveled to Italy. That's how they came to Italy, and that's how Rome eventually becomes identified in the Jewish world with Edom. That this group of colonizers who were slaves in Egypt, when they received their freedom from Egypt, traveled to Italy and began the colonization of Italy, and therefore they are the founders of Rome. That's why Rome later is called Edom. Rome is representative of Edom throughout Jewish history. When the Roman Empire became Christian, so then Edom became the symbol of the Roman Catholic Church, of the Christian religion. So that when we speak of Edom, we are speaking of Christianity. When we speak of Yishmael, we speak of Islam. And who? Edom originally? No, they were paganistic. They were not monotheistic, but since they were descended from Esav, they had a bent towards monotheism. It was not unknown to them. And therefore, when they became Christian, that's like on the way a little. So in Jewish tradition, in Jewish life, and in Jewish history, we always see Edom referred to as Christianity. In order to understand the full import of the haftora that we're going to learn, you have to see it, therefore, in that light as well, that we are not talking here only about Edom in terms of the ancient tribe of Edom that wandered in the southern part of Israel and in the Sinai Desert and the Arabian Peninsula, but we're talking about the historical Edom, which extends to become Rome and extends to our time in becoming the church, and how the church behaves and looks at us. You also will realize that, in essence, all of the major conflicts in the world, at least as far as the Jewish people are concerned, are really the continuity of a family disagreement that began long ago. It's taken on global implications, but that's basically what it is. Brothers, half-brothers, who contest, just as brothers may contest financial and business and physical arrangements. Here it is. The stakes here are even higher. The stakes here are world control, they're eternity, they're spiritual, but basically it's a contest between brothers. And that's the gist of this haftorah. That's what Ovadia comes to teach us. Chazon Ovadia, the vision of the prophet Ovadia. Ko amar Hashem lakim le'edom. Thus says God to Edom. Again, you have to remember that Edom, when Ovadia said it, Edom was, relatively speaking, a small country of nomadic tribesmen who lived in the southern part of Israel and did not really play a major part in world history.
But the prophecy is regarding the grand Edom, the fact that Edom will eventually take over the world in fulfillment of the blessing that Yitzchak gave to Esav, that this world is Esav's. Just ask Cardinal O'Connor. Just as an aside, there's an article by George Will hanging on the bulletin board. If you have a chance to read it, it is the article on the subject. The article. Yeah, but no comparison to this. I mean, Rosenthal writes as a Jew, so it's half apologetic. But this is without restraint. Anyway, Ko amar Hashem Elokim le'Edom. Thus said the Lord God to Edom, Shmua shamanu meis Hashem. We have heard, meaning we, the prophet, there's a rumor. We have heard what God has to say. V'tzir bagoyim shulach, and a messenger has been sent among all the nations of the world. What does the messenger say? Kuma v'nokuma alel ha-milchoma. Come, we will now make war against Edom. Edom is not only the tyrant over the Jewish people, it's the tyrant over the world. In the Roman Empire, the Christian church, Western civilization, it's resented by the rest of the world. And there will come a time when the world stands up and says, enough. We are going to war against Edom. God says, Hine koto nesaticha bagoyim. You think you're the greatest. I will show you you're the smallest. I will show you how inept, how small you are. Bozu yatamod. You are despised. People like to be loved, right? The church that speaks of love is despicable. It's despised. It's a long way from love. And feelings of the world towards it are not that of love. The feelings within the Christian world itself, the great Protestant Reformation, the schism within the church, all of the counter ideas, all come to speak of the fact that during its reign, for centuries as the despot of the world, it acquired a great deal of enmity. Why? Because they're going to lose. You have to have patience, right? You have to wait till the game is over. People don't have patience because we have limited time in this world. But historical forces have a long time. That's right. They rule the world till the end of days. At the end of days, they will fall, and Yaakov will rule the world. The eventual triumph of good, the eventual triumph of Yaakov's blessing. That's the eventual contest here. I mean, that's the contest between the church and the state of Israel, even though neither of them admit it. And the poor secularists in the state of Israel are hard put to express it. But that's the contest. It has nothing to do with diplomacy, etc. How can it be that the Jewish people should take back their land against the opposition of the whole world? How can it be that the church does not control its own property? That has vast theological implications. And therefore, the church is not the first ostrich in the history of the world. If one pretends it doesn't exist, then it will go away. Zdon libcha hishiecha. The zdon libcha means the passion of your heart, the fact that you did it purposely has convinced you. I mean, your hatred is such that you're convinced. It talked you into it, that you're going to be able to win Edom. Your passion against Yaakov is so great that you are literally committing your own suicide. But better that way than the other way, right? You hate them so. Ishiecha is like Anochosh Hishiani. The snake talked me into it, seduced me. You are seduced by the passion of your own heart. Shochni b'chag ve'sela. You who dwell in the clefts of the rock, you think you're all the way up there. You're in St. Peter's Basilica. Nobody can bring you down. Merom Shifto, in the highest places that you sit. Omer Belibo, who says in his heart, Edom says, Mi yorideni oretz, who will bring me down? I am the eternal, Rome calls itself the eternal city. I'm forever. Who will ever bring me down? Who will ever make me be humble? By the way, that is undoubtedly the motto of all tyrants, of all greatly successful people. The curse of success is that you can't do it again. Just ask the Chicago Bears. Can't do it again. Who's going to beat us, right? Somebody always comes along and beats you. And that's the history of civilization. That's why, we should not face it, but, the United States also, right? The almighty dollar is not so almighty anymore. And whether the almighty United States is so almighty, we also have to wait and see. But the arrogance of success, the arrogance of power, what we call the ugly American, that is our motto that's the motto of humanity always. Who's going to bring me down, right? I'm greater than anybody. I'm more powerful. I'm wealthier. I'm stronger. I'm going to do it. So God says, Im tagbia kanesher, if you fly higher than the eagle. In the imagery of the Bible, the eagle is always the highest flying bird. No one can bring it down. Soars higher over all birds. The rabbis say the metaphor that the eagle is the only bird that carries its young on its wings instead of in its claws. Because all other birds are afraid of attack from above. The eagle that soars on the great downdrafts of the winds. If you've ever seen an eagle fly in California and in Yosemite, you can see them. They don't move their wings. They can fly like that for a half hour. They just let the wind take them up and down. They ride the currents. So their young are carried on top of the wings because they're not afraid of a bird that will come on top of them. They have the highest altitude. And that's why they are the king of the birds, just as the lion is the king of the animals. So, im tagbia kanesher, even if you fly as high as the eagle, im bein kochovim sim kinecha, we understand that very well. Even if you reach the stars, your nest is in the stars, right? You'll send spacemen and space stations, you're up in the stars. Mishom oridcha nu Hashem, I'll take you down, God says. You're still responsible to me. I will lower you. I will take you down. Im ganovim bo lecha. Now, a Novi here uses the imagery. He said the destruction of Edom will be so complete that it will astound everyone. Because if robbers come upon a person, im shoda de laila, robbers of the night, come and despoil a person's house, but they don't take everything. No robber takes everything. Doesn't move the furniture out. Eich nidmeisa. How have you been smitten? How have you been forced to be silent? It's like paralyzed in terror. Halo yignavu dayam. If robbers come, they steal what's enough for them. So they leave over for the owner also something. In botsrim bolach, if the pickers and on the grape fields or in the orchards, those who pick it clean, halo yashiru olelos, they also leave over the small fruit, the little grapes. Nobody picks it clean that there's nothing left. But you will be picked clean. When your defeat comes, there will be zero left. How has Esav been searched out? Searched out means that it's been uncovered. There's nothing left. Destroyed utterly. Nivu matspunov. Its innermost hidden places have been exposed. The robbers will take everything. Now here the Novi makes a comment that all of us know. There's nothing like allies, right? Allies are almost as bad as enemies. And that's true in life, and that's true in war, and it's true in politics, it's true in everything. So he describes how Esav will be egged on by its allies. And then at the moment of truth, Esav will be deserted. Aragvul shulchucha, until the border did they send you. They accompanied you to the border, right? They're ready, Russia is ready to fight to the last Afghan. Let somebody else do it. Aragvul shulchucha, till the border have they sent you. Kol anshe brisecha, all the men of your covenant, all of your allies. Hishiyucha, they have convinced you, they have seduced you that you're going to triumph. Yochlu lecha anshe shlomecha, the people who are your allies, they have overcome you, they have defeated you because they talked you into this mess. That you're the top in the world and you're going to represent the world and you're going to impose your will. Lachmecha yasimu mozor tachtecha. Your bread, they will use your bread as their healing instead of you. In other words, they will exploit you. That's really the word the Navi says. They will exploit you. They'll take billions of dollars from you for nothing. Ain't hunabo, and there is no wisdom in it. The policy is madness, sheer folly. Allies, foreign aid, whatever. It's all sheer folly. It has no hope of success. There was a time that I once, 10 years ago or 12 years ago, I once had something to do with the aid division. That's when aid was not a dangerous word. The aid division of the State Department in financing hospitals and schools. And we were working on a project that was to be built in Israel. And so we worked through the Middle East section. And the man that was in charge of it, I met with him a number of times. So he once told me, he says, we like to do business with Israel because at least the school gets built. And eventually there's a building there. Eventually there's a school. He said, we've got one project, and he named a certain country, an ally of the United States in the Middle East, a so-called ally. He said, they've got $16 million for a school, and they've got the school, and we don't even have a hole in the ground yet. And we spent $16 million on it. But because that's your ally, so you have to agree with it. You have to play ball. You have to look away from it. So that's Ein Tvunobo, the Novi says. There's no wisdom. It's sheer folly what Edom is engaged in. Halo bayom ahunu Hashem, on this day of judgment, God says, Va'avareti chachomi me'edom. There will be no wise men left in Edom. Now this is an idea that is repeated in the Tanakh very, very often. The idea is simply this, that when God wants to destroy someone, he removes his brains. He removes his seichel. Meishiv leiv chachomi mochor. He takes the heart of wise men and makes it all backwards. The Yom Kippur War, you don't defend the Golan Heights with 7 tanks, no matter what you are. I mean, you can be Moshe Dayan, you can be whatever you are. So he takes the heart of wise men, of successful men, of brilliant men, and allows them to do stupidities. God removes, he who God wishes to destroy, he removes their brains first. They just do things that are so stupid. That's what happens to Edom. There will be no wise men left, right? The United States policy many times, right? The world policy many times. Stand back in awe. How can people be so stupid? I mean, how do they think they're going to get away? They're going to sell arms to Iran and steal the money for Nicaragua, and nobody's going to find out. Right? My 9th graders think that way. But how does it? That's God takes away the wisdom. The wisdom is gone. Ain't tvunobo. There is nobody that has any brains. Svuna mehar Esav, the mountain of Esav, has no wisdom left. And therefore, they pursue these policies of utter folly. And eventually it catches up with you. You can make a mistake once, twice, eventually you pay for it. So the Navi describes the fall of Esav almost in terms of a natural occurrence. They're going to destroy themselves. Their policies will destroy themselves. You see that regarding the policies of the church, regarding its own inner theology, etc. I mean, it's like it's careening blindly over a cliff. V'chatu giborecha Taimon. Taimon means Yemen, because Yemen was the capital. Esav's Melucha was centered in the Arabian Peninsula in Yemen. The word Botzra, which is today the city of Basra in Yemen, is always seen as the capital of Esav, the capital of Edom. So a synonym for Esav, for Edom, is Taimon. Your strong men will tremble on that day. Laman yikores ish mehar Esav mikotel, so that the army of Esav will be cut off from killing. The killing against them will be so great that they will all be destroyed. They will be given over in the hands of their enemy without mercy. Why? Where does it all stem from? Why is God so angry at Esav? Because of his relationship to Yaakov. Because of his treatment of Yaakov over the centuries, the Navi says. So we have here, in the next verse, there are two different interpretations of how we can describe this pasuk, but both of them you'll see as many times in Tanakh, both of them are correct. From the anger of your brother Yaakov, you will be covered with shame. So one interpretation is that at the end of days, Yaakov will be so angry at you that you will be covered with shame, with defeat, because of the anger of Yaakov. But the second shot, the one that most Meforshim favor, is because of the anger that Esav displayed to Yaakov. At the end of days, he will be embarrassed by it. Why did you treat Yaakov